Okay, my name's Phil Binding. I'm the coordinator for the Mental Health Action Group, which is based in the southern half of Derbyshire.
I'm Neil Watson. I'm Secretary of the Mental Health Action Group.
The Mental Health Action Group is a campaigning group and it's led by service users. And that's people who have received services in the past or who are receiving services now. We have over 240 members who've joined free. Most of those are service users. Some of them are corporate members or members of other organisations. We concentrate mostly on campaigning on issues that our service users bring us. And they will bring us those issues at monthly meetings that we take around the county. They're debated by the group, and if the group feels that we need to respond to those issues, then we will respond. About 3 years ago, we became aware that there were changes to transport because the concessionary bus pass was introduced by the government. This caused a problem in Derbyshire because hitherto people with mental health problems had what was called a gold card concessionary pass, but when the new system came in, it was only funded really to include people with physical disabilities, and we thought it was unfair. To get the card, somebody with a mental health problem had to give up their driving licence. We didn't see why this was necessary. We didn't succeed in that campaign because we didn't manage to get the legislation changed, but we did have some spin-offs which were quite surprising. One was that we discovered the parliamentary group called the Disabled People's Transport Advisory Committee, which advises government on any legislation around transport and disability. Did not have any mental health representation on it at all. So we've managed to change that, and we are now that representative. So we're a small regional group, but we are now on a parliamentary committee. And we've had a lot of impact there. We've actually trained that committee in mental health awareness, and we've contributed to many debates and discussions on other disability issues. But locally, we also discovered that there were issues around bus company providers in Derbyshire. Drivers were questioning people with a gold card, saying, why are you using a gold card when you're not disabled? Which is outrageous, really. But we alerted the bus companies to this. They were horrified. They engaged with us, and they are now in the process of training their drivers to be mentally health aware, if you like, so that they can, first of all, not question people when they bring passes onto the bus, but secondly, to just to simply be aware that sometimes certain behaviours might be an indication that somebody has a mental health problem, and that it's not a threat, it's okay. Benefits issues came on our radar about 2.5 years ago when the incapacity benefit changed to employment support allowance. At first we thought, well, how does this affect us locally? But we realised it was a national issue. And a lot of people started coming to us saying they were having problems. So we decided that we couldn't address the issue solely at our monthly meetings anymore. It became too big. So we had the idea of putting together a working group, and we quickly got about a dozen members. And on that working group, we also invited benefits advisors from both Job Centre Plus and councils. And we have had many people come from the benefits world as well to come and speak to us. In fact, it's ballooned the proportions that we now have regular monthly meetings, and it looks like we're even going to have subgroups of the benefits working group now. Massively successful.
My experience of the group has been very informative. We hope to make beneficial changes in time. Sometimes people just feel better by getting off the chest, by just discussing it, even if there's not always a positive outcome. Just to say, this is stressing me, this is upsetting me, this has happened. It's a beneficial process for some people. We meet on a monthly basis at the RTC Business Park. We're now in regular contact with the Department of Work and Pensions, which, as far as I'm concerned, in the long term, is all beneficial. One of the successes, as far as I'm concerned, is many of our members do have long psychiatric histories, myself involved, but you generally find people that are actively involved no longer generally become inpatients anymore. That doesn't mean they don't have problems. It doesn't mean they're not at times distressed or upset or have hiccups. But generally, it is an upward curve, and it does start to foster a sense of self-responsibility. I mean, for example, some of the issues, it does help if you sort of look into it prior to the meeting. So, you know, it's like, well, this is an issue, let's talk about it logically, let's talk about it coherently, sensibly, compassionately. But equally, it starts to, there is a positive buzz about the place, but it's not sycophantic, it's not, you know, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, all being well, this can only grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think in one sentence, it brings. I've got no children, and at the moment I've got no girlfriend. It brings some purpose to my life. I mean, I don't know if this is strictly true, but I think sometimes as you get older, friendships generally aren't as important as what they were when you were younger. Now maybe that's a very glib generalisation, but it brings some purpose to my life.
What do I like most about the job? It may seem a strange thing, actually. Sometimes when I go home after work at night, I am emotionally, mentally and physically shattered because of stuff I've had to deal with during the day. And other days I go home and I feel utterly elated, walking on clouds, because we've had a success. And I wouldn't want it any other way, because I need those two parts of my life. There can't be light without dark, there can't be happiness without unhappiness. And I think the days when I do go home feeling shattered, and I've learned now how to walk away from it, really. But the reason I feel drained and shattered is because I care. It's not just a job to me. I care about what happens, and I care about the people we work with. And I'd much rather go home feeling that way because I care than going home not giving a toss because I didn't.
And I'd much rather go home and have a good night's sleep than, as you say, just be basically awake half the night.
Absolutely, and talk to any of the people in our group, they'll probably tell you the same. So, yeah, it's unique. I've never come across anything quite that. And I'd love more groups like ours. I'd love people out there to feel this way. Not because they're negative emotions, but because, you know, you're alive, aren't you? When you're feeling those emotions, you're alive, but you're not being trodden down. You're doing something about it, and it's the reason you're feeling that way is because you are doing something about it, and that to me is the whole reason for campaigning. You're not doing it usually just for yourself. You're doing it for the people, and it's that collective feeling that, you know, you've made a difference. And yeah, what goes with that sometimes is disappointment and pain and frustration and anger, and you have to try and channel it. I must admit, the last 5 years I've been doing this, I don't think I've ever felt so angry as I did in the previous 50. And that's all wrong, isn't it? I should be feeling like that in my 20s.